Good day, everyone. My name is Stephanie Reina, and today I'll be presenting a case study on the rise and fall of Theranos, a company that at one point was valued at billions of dollars, yet collapsed due to deception and unethical business practices. This case offers powerful lessons about the dangers of fraud, the importance of transparency, and how poor ethics can destroy even the most promising ventures. Let's begin. A brief overview of Theranos and its promise. Theranos, founded by Elizabeth Holmes, promised to revolutionize blood testing with technology that could supposedly perform numerous tests with just a single drop of blood. This vision attracted significant investment and media attention. However, the company's story is a cautionary tale. In this presentation, we will examine how Theranos' initial vision devolved into unethical practices, ultimately leading to its downfall. We will analyze the company's misleading claims, the impact on stakeholders, and the critical ethical lessons we can learn. This case is particularly relevant to our course because it demonstrates the importance of several key financial concepts. Specifically, the Theranos case directly relates to, firstly, market efficiency. The case shows how market inefficiencies can arise when information is not transparent and how this can lead to misevaluation of a company. Secondly, corporate finance. Theranos' failure highlights the critical importance of ethical decision-making, accurate financial reportings, and corporate governance in maintaining stakeholder trust and long-term viability. Lastly, risk and return. Investors in Theranos faced extreme risk, which in a properly functioning market should have been associated with the potential for high returns. However, in this case, the risk was not properly understood due to the company's lack of transparency, and the returns never materialized. Actually, investors lost everything. By examining Theranos, we can gain a deeper understanding of how these financial principles operate, or, in this case, how their violation can lead to catastrophic results. This section demonstrates the required connection to the core concepts of this course. The vision and early hype. Elizabeth Holmes, the charismatic founder of Theranos, presented a compelling vision. She promised a revolutionary technology, a scanner named the Edison, that would make blood testing faster, cheaper, and more accessible. This vision had the potential to transform healthcare. The idea was that instead of large vials of blood, Theranos could perform hundreds of tests with just a prick. This would make testing less invasive, more convenient, and more affordable, potentially enabling earlier disease detection. Elizabeth Holmes strategically aligned herself with powerful and respected individuals in the industry throughout the ascension of her company. She created a very impressive persona and gained the respect of these individuals rather quickly. Essentially, she got them on her side and sparked a genuine intrigue and support for her message and technology. The cracks begin to show. Technological limitations. At the core of Theranos' appeal was its revolutionary technology, a small, sleek machine called the Edison. Holmes claimed it could run over 200 blood tests from just a single drop of blood, something that no other diagnostic company had ever achieved. But despite the bold claims and glossy marketing, the reality was far different. The Edison machines were plagued by problems from the very beginning. Internally, engineers struggled to make the technology deliver consistent and accurate results. Many of the tests it produced were unreliable, often producing wildly different results from one test to the next. In fact, the company quietly began using traditional third-party lab machines like those from Siemens, to conduct many of its blood tests. These tests required larger blood samples and completely undermined the company's main selling point. Even worse, Theranos didn't disclose this to its partners or the public. Investors and patients were led to believe that the Edison was being used exclusively, when it was little more than a prop to the company's elaborate facade. This wasn't just a technological failure, it was a fundamental breach of trust. Theranos continued to claim its technology worked, knowing that it didn't. This moment marked the beginning of a pattern, one where maintaining the illusion became more important than the truth.
Piper? You okay, baby?
Misleading investors and partners. One of the most disturbing elements of the Theranos scandal is how the company intentionally misled its investors and corporate partners, including two household names, Walgreens and Safeway. Walgreens invested approximately $140 million and launched dozens of in-store blood test centers, while Safeway spent $350 million retrofitting nearly 800 grocery stores in anticipation of offering Theranos' blood tests. These were enormous investments based on what we now know were fraudulent claims. From a financial perspective, this connects directly to concepts from our course. Let's break down a few key ideas. Capital budgeting and investment decisions. Both Walgreens and Safeway made significant capital budgeting decisions based on projections from Theranos. Capital budgeting is all about evaluating long-term investments like upgrading hundreds of stores or launching a new business line. The Theranos case shows how flawed or misleading data can lead to catastrophic capital allocation. Risk assessment and due diligence. Theranos painted a picture of low-risk, high-reward opportunity, but these companies failed to perform adequate due diligence, a critical step in finance when assessing the viability and risk of a project. If they had conducted independent evaluations of the technology or demanded audited financial statements, they might have avoided such massive losses. Financial reporting and transparency. Theranos didn't release transparent financial statements, and it avoided regulatory oversight. Yet it still raised over $700 million. This highlights the importance of financial disclosure regulations, which exist to protect investors and maintain fair markets, a core topic in corporate finance. Endangering patient health. Perhaps the most egregious aspect of Theranos' unethical behavior was the direct risk it posed to patient health. Inaccurate blood test results can lead to misdiagnosis, delayed treatment, or inappropriate medical interventions, with potentially devastating consequences. So a real-world example could be the Walgreens partnership, which I mentioned earlier. But just to reiterate, the partnership with Walgreens is a prime example. Theranos' inaccurate tests were used on real patients in Walgreens stores, potentially affecting their healthcare decisions. This had huge financial implications for Walgreens, who spent a lot of money. Walgreens relied on Theranos' claims, highlighting the dangers of relying on unaudited information and the importance of due diligence and verifying information. This also demonstrates the breach of trust. Investor losses. Theranos reached a peak valuation of $9 billion in 2014, despite having no FDA-approved product, no revenue from actual technology, and no independently verified results. That valuation was driven by hype, secrecy, and false promises. Major investors, including Rupert Murdoch, the Walton family, Betsy DeVos, and Larry Ellison, collectively poured over $700 million into the company. These were seasoned, high-profile individuals and institutions, yet they invested based on inaccurate financials and misleading claims. When Theranos was exposed in 2025-2026, the company's value dropped to virtually zero. investors lost everything. From a finance perspective, this underscores the importance of accurate financial reporting and audited statements, key tools that allow investors to assess a company's risk, performance, and legitimacy. It also highlights how market inefficiencies can occur when information is hidden or manipulated, leading to mispricing of assets and just bad outcomes for stakeholders. Key takeaways. In conclusion, the story of Theranos stands as a powerful example of what can happen when unethical standards are ignored in business. The company's collapse was the direct result of dishonesty, lack of transparency, and poor accountability, all of which had devastating consequences for investors, partners, and patients. This case reinforces why due diligence, independent verification, and strong ethical foundations are essential to finance, not just as best practices, but as safeguards against real world harm. As we've learned in this course, concepts like market efficiency, risk and return, corporate governance, and just isn't are not just academic. They're critical to building trust, making sound investment decisions, and protecting stakeholders. Ultimately, Theranos is more than just a cautionary tale. It's a lesson in why ethical behavior must be at the core of every financial decision, and it's a story that every future finance professional should take to heart. Thank you so very much for your time and have a great rest of your day.